This is a true story about a seller getting sued by their buyers and having to pay $11,000, even though the buyers never actually bought the house. It sounds unbelievable, but it's real. So, the seller decided to move to Florida. They put their house up for sale and were excited about downsizing. The buyers were a bit difficult during negotiations and the inspection process. They wanted lots of repairs and credits. Eventually, they sorted out what repairs the sellers would make and what credits they would get. On the day of closing, the buyers did a final walkthrough while the sellers were still there. Usually, it's not a good idea for buyers and sellers to meet, but the sellers were still in the house when the buyers came. As the buyers walked through the house, they found a packet of information left by the sellers. It had details about when things were installed, how old they were, and any warranties they had. While going through this stack of info, the buyers noticed something. They said, "Hey, these windows are actually 8 years old. Don't forget to subscribe. You told us they were new." The sellers replied, "Well, they are new." But the buyers disagreed, saying, 8 years old isn't new. So, there was a difference of opinion there. The buyers thought the windows were newer than they really were, and they were pretty upset about it. I'm not sure if they were trying to back out of the deal or just wanted more money for closing costs. When they got to the closing, the buyers demanded an $11,000 discount on the house price. The sellers refused, saying the windows were still fairly new. The buyers then left without closing the deal. It was strange because buyers don't usually walk away like that. The buyers threatened to sue the sellers for the $11,000. The sellers didn't think much of it and put their house back on the market. The brokerage still had the earnest money, and there was a disagreement about it. The sellers moved to Florida, but a few months later, they were sued by the buyers who never actually bought the house. The buyers claimed the sellers owed them $11,000. It was a surprising turn of events after the deal fell through. The buyers claimed the sellers didn't tell them the true ages of the windows, which they said caused them extra expenses since they had already sold their old house and were staying in a hotel. They argued they were harmed by this. In a lawsuit, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong because anyone can sue anyone else. You don't need a real reason to sue someone, you can just file the paperwork. That's what the buyers did. Normally, people don't sue over small things because they don't want to pay legal fees. But this buyer had a relative who was a lawyer and agreed to work on the case for free, only getting paid if they won. This meant they could drag the lawsuit on for years. When someone sues you and you need to hire a lawyer, the cost can vary a lot. It depends how complicated the case is, how experienced the lawyer is, where you live, and what legal issues are involved. Here are some common ways lawyers charge and things to think about. Some lawyers charge by the hour. The price can be anywhere from $100 to $1,000 or more per hour. Complex cases or ones that need special knowledge might cost more per hour. For simple cases, like writing a response to a lawsuit or going to a basic court hearing, some lawyers might offer a flat fee. This could be a few hundred to several $1,000s. In some cases, like personal injury lawsuits, lawyers might work for a contingency fee. This means they only get paid if they win the case. They usually take a percentage, like 33 to 40%, of the money you get from the lawsuit. Some lawyers ask for a retainer fee up front. This is like a down payment for their services. They use this money as they work on your case, and you might need to add more money if the retainer runs out. Besides the lawyer's fees, there can be other costs for defending a lawsuit. These might include court fees, paying expert witnesses, recording statements, and gathering evidence. It's important to talk about fees and payment plans with your lawyer from the start. Make sure you understand how much everything might cost. It's also a good idea to talk to a few different lawyers to compare prices and what they offer before you decide who to hire. The sellers were surprised and upset to be sued over a house the buyers never bought. They talked to their real estate brokerage and their own lawyers, which cost them money. It was a crazy situation that shouldn't have happened. The buyers seemed determined to keep fighting. This led to more legal fees and stress for the sellers. They couldn't understand why they were being sued when the buyers never actually closed the deal. After months of legal battles, the buyers offered to settle if the sellers paid them $11,000. The sellers were furious but had to consider whether it was worth continuing the fight and risking losing. They reluctantly agreed to pay. This whole ordeal taught us some important lessons. Clear communication is crucial when selling a house. You need to accurately disclose the ages of things like windows and furnaces to avoid problems later on. I don't like how real estate agents wait until the deal is almost done to share this information. Some buyers take advantage of this and try to lower the price. The main point is, you must tell buyers anything important about your property. This includes big things, not small stuff. If buyers knew these details, they might not want to buy your home or would offer less money. Imagine you're buying a house. Wouldn't you want to know everything important? Sellers can get in trouble if they hide major problems, even if inspectors miss them. In some states, you must tell buyers if someone died in your home in the past 3 years or if there's lead paint in an older house. Here's a list of what you'll need to disclose: natural hazard report, real estate transfer disclosure statement, HOA documents, if applicable, lead-based paint, for homes built before 1978, and homeowner's guide to earthquake safety. There might be more depending on where you live. Disclosures aren't hard. Just follow the rules, and you won't have problems. We don't want you to get into trouble for not sharing important information. It's also important to watch out for red flags with buyers. If negotiations and inspections are difficult, it might not be worth the stress, even if the offer seems good. You have to decide how much your peace of mind is worth. And finally, just because you think you're right doesn't mean you won't get sued. It's better to be cautious and disclose everything properly to avoid legal trouble later. In the case of the lawsuit mentioned earlier, it might seem ridiculous, but the sellers had to weigh the cost of fighting it versus the cost of settling and moving on. It's important to consider what's truly worth your time and peace of mind. Good luck selling your home. If you'd like to continue exploring this world of finance, consider subscribing and inviting your friends to join the conversation. We're here to provide insights and knowledge. Check out this eye-opening video by clicking on the link if you want to know more.